Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast, episode 92.
Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast with your host, Jack Mountain Bushcraft School founder and Master Maine Guide, Tim Smith.
I'm your host, Tim Smith. I'm a registered Master Maine Guide and have been a full-time outdoor instructor and guide since founding the Jack Mountain Bushcraft School in 1999. We help people become more skilled, more knowledgeable, more experienced, and more confident in the natural world through our bushcraft and guide training semester programs and multi-week canoe and snowshoe expeditions. You can check out the show notes to all of our podcasts at blog.jackmtn.com. If you're interested in learning more about our college-accredited and GI Bill-approved programs, visit the Jack Mountain Bushcraft School on the web at jackmtn.com. And check out our online network and digital learning academy at bushcraftschool.com. Hello and welcome back to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast. We are here in the Jack Mountain studio.
Yeah, we need to workshop that. It needs a better name.
Semi-subterranean headquarters at our remote northern Maine lair.
There you go.
I like lair.
Lair's pretty good.
It always sounds.
It feels very much like a lair.
It does.
I like it.
Tim made me turn off all the lights before we started.
And we lit a candle.
It's like the Bat Cave.
Right. Without bats.
Without bats.
So I'm your host, Tim Smith. I'm here with Christopher Russell, and we're joined by a celebrity today.
Hardly.
Our old friend Ryan Holt also goes by Yukon.
Ryan Holt. Good friends call me Yukon. You guys can call me that.
And who else do we have here?
Okay, Ebenezer.
Ebenezer the dog. He's a pug.
Ebenezer Pug.
And if you hear little clicking sounds, that's him grunting right there. He's a very vocal. So if you hear little clicking sounds, it's his toes on the floor. Anyway, cool. So Ryan, you were a student here in 2013. Was your first time in Masardis?
Yep, 2013.
And then after that, you've gone on to have quite the television career.
Yeah, thanks to you, Tim.
So
something I had never expected I would, ever do in my life, or I would ever pursue in my life. But you just when you live a life where you don't say no to many things, and you just open to all opportunities, some pretty wild things kind of fall at your door sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And so, what? 4 Naked and Afraid challenges, 16 episodes.
Yep, four different challenges over the last 6 years.
Everglades in Florida to South Africa to the Bahamas.
And then, twice to South Africa. Once to the Bahamas, and my first one was in the Everglades.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. And since you run a business called the Human-Nature Hostel in the mountains of western Maine, I know all this. I'm not really asking him because I've been there and we're friends. But I'm doing this for everybody's benefit.
Yeah.
You built a giant dome there. And
yep, that had always been the plan. I've always, had these grand plans that take years to come to fruition. But I spent 5 years building the Human-Nature Hostel and Wilderness Guide Service. Coming here to Jack Mountain Bushcraft School was sort of my foundation for all my personal skills and what I wanted to do with the facility once I built it. So just taking all those necessary steps. But it took me 4 years to build the actual structure. It's a 40-foot timber frame geodesic dome.
And it's beautiful. I've been there. It's gorgeous.
It's all custom wood. Sits on 42 acres on the side of Black Ski Mountain down in Roxbury, Maine.
The only downside was you got to look at those horrible other mountains with the view.
I know. There's just too many mountains to look at.
Yeah,
the view's just...
You should hang
get somebody to clear those for you.
Or you should
the view is sickeningly gorgeous.
Put up a big, Twisted Tea or Bud Light, highway sign.
Yeah,
maybe
one of those fluorescent ones.
Yeah, one of each.
On either side.
The dome itself, the structure sleeps 26 people. It's, like I said, sits on 42 acres. And, I'm just getting my guide service off the ground this year. Next year, 2021.
So what you've been doing is essentially a hostel for Appalachian Trail thru hikers because you are an Appalachian Trail thru hiker yourself, correct?
Yeah, I thru hiked in 2012, 2,200 miles from Georgia to Maine, and that's also another thing that inspired me to buy the land, build a hostel, and then incorporate the guide service with my guide's license and all the cool survival shit that you taught me.
Nice. But this year with the COVID, did they shut the trail down? Was it officially I don't know how you...
At the beginning of COVID, when all this kind of first kicked off, it was basically shut down. I mean, there's about 5,000 every year. About 5,000 hikers attempt to go northbound from Georgia, and I'd say this year it might have been 500.
Wow.
You know, it was way less, and those ones were ones that already had given up everything, all their plans for the year, sold their houses, you know, quit their jobs, and they really didn't have anything to go back to, whether Corona was a thing or not. So
so why not walk in the woods?
Yeah, so why not walk in the woods? So a handful of people still did it. There's a big group still out there, but I wasn't able to open for business for hiker services this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the state of Maine, it's been a challenging time for small business. The only thing that kept me, you know, alert and aware as to what was going on with the COVID in the state was that I'm a member of the Maine Professional Guides Association, and they send out emails that would explain, like, here's what's going on, here's what you can do, here's what you can't. But yeah, obviously a tough year for small business in Maine.
Yeah.
That guy's awesome. So as a result, you're maybe headed in a new direction?
Yeah, as a result of the COVID, you know, trying to find the silver lining in everything. It's afforded me the opportunity to take a step back and kind of reassess what I've been doing. You know, I've loved servicing hikers and whatnot, but it is, you know, my dream was to build the hostel and have my own guide service. So I've kind of already done the hostel aspect of things. You know, we were voted the #2 hostel from Georgia to Maine in my second year. So there's no doubt I know I can do whatever I put my mind to. So the guide service aspect of my business is what I want to dive into next year and kind of take a step away from, you know, the hosteling of hikers and, you know, providing those services.
Nice. Yeah. And are you going to, so for people who are listening to this and want to learn more, are you going to be, will the information on the things that you'll be offering be on the Human-Nature Hostel website? Like, how do you plan to?
Yep, absolutely. I've got humannaturehostel.com, humannaturehostel.net. I've got all of them. I got Instagram, Human Nature Hostel, and on Facebook. I don't have any personal social media accounts, but the Human Nature Hostel is me and my whole life, so everything that you follow and see on there is what I'll be doing.
Cool. So if I wanted to go snowshoeing with you next year, I would find more information there.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, so a little bit of snowshoeing, a little bit of canoeing maybe. What else?
Canoeing, yeah. I'm pretty sure canoeing is going to be sort of, you know, my forte. You know, a couple, you know, 3-4 day trips down in the area that I'm at.
Which is, where's your area?
I would be mostly guiding out of the Rangeley area.
Okay.
I'm 30 minutes south of Rangeley, and, you know, those lake systems up there, or even Richardson Lake, Moose Lake, McGuntock Lake, those are all 15 miles away north of my property, and that's where I would be tapping into the wilderness to take people out and incorporating. I'll be taking them out on guided trips, but incorporating the teachings of the 4 basics of survival. I'm not going to be getting
donuts, coffee. What are the other 2?
Cute dogs,
plenty of sleep,
fried food. Done.
Yeah. I'm not going to be getting too much into the, you know, I'm definitely a guide, a teacher, but I'm not, you know, looking at building curriculum or having students or anything like that. I'm taking people out on extended recreational trips, and I'm incorporating the 4 basics of survival, which is water, shelter, fire, food. A very organic and natural sort of progression of each trip. And yeah, that's kind of what I want to be doing. And also using the hostel now that it's not being used for hikers and all the beautiful accommodations that we've built down there, using that for the guide service.
Awesome.
So when people come sign up and they come up to go on a 4-day canoe trip, they'll come and stay at the hostel, experience the whole, you know, the land that I have, the building that I have, and all my facilities, and then we'll go out, do the trip, and we'll still be able to come back to the lodging afterwards.
Awesome. And the reason you're visiting us now is a canoe trip that it sort of failure to launch because of the drought. Of all the other things that 2020 has given us, in northern Maine, we're under this crushing drought. We actually saw a friend of ours yesterday at the laundromat in town when we went in to get some supplies, and she said their well was running low, so they had to do their laundry in town.
That's why they were there.
Crippling drought. So the Allagash is usually about 800 cubic feet per second this time of year, and right now it's at about 200 cubic feet per second. So the minimum for a trip where you're not just going to scratch up your gear is probably 400 cubic feet per second, maybe with a pole and a big, like, 20-foot boat without hardly any weight in it, 350, but we're in the Allagash is not a river trip right now. It's a rocky hike.
Yeah.
Dragging a boat across
rocks
Through low-level puddle river.
So so you're gonna do a loop in the headwater lakes, likely.
Yeah, the plan was to go from Jackman to Fort Kent, the last 200 miles of the Northern Forest Canoe Trail. But due to that drought, I did do the 34-mile Moose River bow trip down in Jackman, which included a 16 to 18-mile section of the Moose River, which surprisingly there was plenty of water for me to go through it.
Yeah, you said
but
that
despite what the locals said, I went and checked it out and ended up doing it. But headed up this way to Tim's place, and on Tuesday I'm going to head into the North Maine woods, where the Allagash begins over at Churchill Dam, and then just do the lake circuit south of that, the Allagash Lake.
Nice.
Yeah.
Churchill Lake, Eagle
Pretty
Lake.
spot to be.
Yeah, see the train, see the tramway.
Yeah, I haven't been in that area, haven't canoed that area, so...
I heard tell that there's a squirrel out there that steals people's spoons. I'd be careful.
Yeah.
We had a buddy of ours, the last podcast, talking to Colin. He had a squirrel steal his spoon, or he's convinced that that's what's happened. So just keep an eye out for it.
And then didn't he make the claim that squirrel traveled back in time and murdered somebody, too?
He probably did.
Or was that me?
That might have been you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you make that up, or is
that
that
sounds like a Tim thing,
2020?
not a Colin thing.
Me and Ebenezer here, Ebenezer Pug, will be taking that trip here next week.
Nice.
Yeah, Eagle Lake.
Over my birthday, I'm
Smith
36.
Brooks, 36.
Yeah,
you don't look a day over 22.
It's been seven years since I've been here at this class. I had my 29th birthday here when I was going through the 9-week immersion program at Jack Mountain Bushcraft.
Yeah, it seems like 100 years ago.
I know. It's good to be back.
A lot of gray hairs ago for me. So when you're out there on Eagle Lake, Smith Brook campsite, great place to go. Paddle up. You see tons of moose there. And it was also the site of the famous Allagash abductions when the 4 guys...
Oh, yeah?
I think they ate a bunch of mushrooms, and then the alien mothership flew over the bay, and they all claimed they went up in the alien ship.
They went up in it too, huh?
Tim, I've known you long enough that it's very suspicious that that's Smith Brook where that happened. I'm not convinced you weren't involved.
Yeah, it was 70.
You and that squirrel went back in time.
Smith Brook, Jack Mountain.
It's a beautiful site,
backyard.
though, like big pines and stuff. It's a pretty spot to go
Sounds
to.
very like you're trying to lure him in for the mothership to abduct you.
Well, I'm going to check out Smith Brook campsite because that's all I want for my birthday this year. I want to see moose. I want to listen to some loons and be out canoe camping around a fire.
That's it. That's the place to go. Because of the COVID, I was on the Allagash twice already this year, and hardly anybody around. Usually it's overrun in the summer. In the fall, this is the best time to go anyway, because school kids are back in school. But usually in the summer, there's lots of Boy Scout groups and camp groups, and there were none of that this year. So it's a great year to go.
Yeah, pretty spot.
And if they're going to shut down the world because of like wildfires and COVID-19, why not hang around the Allagash, right?
Right.
Great place to be.
Yeah, usually in the fall I take off. Well, once a year I kind of allow myself 4 weeks to travel, usually international. I like to pick a spot to go backpack or trip around. And, this year with COVID, I didn't want to leave my state, didn't want to leave home, and I couldn't think of any better place to be than the North Maine woods.
We're getting a lot of tourists in just the greater Masardis area from overseas. They're all trying to get here, but they can't get in, right? So it's like... travel agents in China, in Thailand, in Australia, they're just turning people away because everybody wants to come to Masardis. Drive past the mill, go to Mama Lou's for a slice.
Yeah.
Like, that's what people want, but they can't do it this year. So.
No.
That's really... Oh, my God.
Yeah. Cool. So what was of your time on TV, what was your favorite place you went? And what was if you had to go back to one place, where would it be? And if you were like, if I never see that place again, it'll be too soon. Favorite and least favorite?
I don't know. Every time I've done it, I've always had such a intense, unique experience, transformational experience. In the Everglades, I harvested a 6-foot alligator. And in South Africa, I took down an impala with a longbow, a primitive longbow.
And as I told Ryan yesterday, that I once threw a rock at a Chevy Impala.
Did no damage.
It didn't take it down. But the driver was angry.
So it's really hard. It's hard to pick one, and because they were so such meaningful experiences. I really enjoyed the Everglades because kind of how it all played out. But on a much bigger level, I'd say South Africa was my favorite. Being surrounded by the most prehistoric animals in the world: lions, leopards, hyenas. sleeping in the dirt on the ground in a shelter that I made out of thorn bushes and trees, no walls, no fences, like just raw, primitive, very dangerous, But I've been there twice. I don't know if I necessarily want to go back, anywhere that doesn't have a lot of bugs, a lot of mosquitoes, and a lot of nighttime rain, jungles, stuff like that. Would rather not go to.
Yeah, you just sort of described northern Maine. Like night rains and plenty of bugs.
well, being on naked and afraid. If I've got clothes and rain gear, I wouldn't mind the rain. But specifically being naked, you definitely don't want a lot of wet weather, especially at nighttime. You will freeze. You get hypothermic and 70-degree temperatures.
Oof. I remember seeing your episode in the Everglades, and like you kind of weren't too bothered by the bugs there, and your partner was from somewhere, Colorado or somewhere where they don't really have bugs.
Yeah,
and
she got destroyed.
And you're just sort of laughing like, these aren't bugs. Like good typical.
There's a lot of them down there, but being from Maine, I had a lot of black flies up here. No seums.
Oh God, June. Just imagine, like naked in the Maine woods in June would be awful.
You'd be dead.
Yeah.
But if you find yourself in an environment like that where there's lots of mosquitoes and bugs, you just gotta, do what you can to get rid of them. But mostly just keep your mind occupied. Yeah. Keep your hands moving. Keep crafting something. Keep creating something. So. Me and my partner might have had the same amount of, bug bites and the same amount of annoyances with flies, but I didn't notice them as much because of how busy I kept myself.
Yeah. A few years ago in the springtime, I walked by one of the outhouses and I just heard a student in there just banging on the wall screaming, "The goddamn bugs!" It was like early spring, and then he walked out like nothing had ever happened. Yeah. Like, I just needed to get that out of my system. I'm fine now.
Yeah, June's tough.
It gets to people.
June is tough.
But then Naked and Afraid alone, I think it would have to be my all-time favorites, one I just did. But the fact that I did it alone, there was no partners, none of that group dynamic, partner drama that they kind of want to feed into. All of that was eliminated. So I have to say my alone challenge in South Africa was my favorite.
Yeah, kind of probably more Zen-like experience because you're not having to interact with
I could have been
others.
out there indefinitely.
Nice. Yeah. How long were you out there for?
21 days.
21 days.
3 weeks by myself.
A good amount of time.
And when you were doing that, like I know that the people doing the filming, they don't interact with you, but they keep a little more of a distance because you were alone.
On the original ones, the first few that I have done, it's usually a camera guy, a sound guy, a producer, maybe a medic. The medic's always around, but on this one, to make it even more authentic, the camera guy was the producer and there was no sound guy. So there's one guy following me around with a camera, and then on standby, you'd have your medic and your South African Ranger and those types of logistical people. But no communication with them or anything like that. They're essentially not there unless you have some major medical incident.
Right.
That's the only time they'll intervene. It's the longest I've ever gone without eating. 7 or 8 days, not a bite of food, and while exerting 100% of my energy from sunrise to sundown, hunting, building shelter, collecting firewood, all those things. Not like I'm just fasting and laying on a couch for a week.
Sure.
I'm exerting 110% of everything I got and not eating for 7 days.
How was it when you finally ate? I bet that's a memorable meal for you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, because my first meal was a duck. All the fat and grease and all the, it was amazing. Frog wa, I'm out there eating duck liver, duck heart, and
probably
it was
a meal
incredible.
You'll never forget.
Never.
Yeah, for sure.
Followed by 3 over the next 4 days. Over the next 5 days, I ate 4 ducks. Once I figured out how to harvest them, that was a pretty good food source.
Did you notice when you were like day 5, day 6, day 7 of the fast, your other senses becoming more keen? Like, for example, your sense of smell. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I would say so. I can't pick any sense in particular, but just being out there with, surrounded by, animals and being in that environment in my element, you definitely, all your senses start to pick up on everything.
I once did an 11-day fast on just
telling me
water,
that.
and I remember I could smell like this barbecue joint. It was like 40 miles away, and I could swear I could smell it. When I got within like 8 miles, I was like, "Yep." I was like a cartoon character. You know, they sort of float on like little smell waves. That's what I felt like. But I definitely noticed the joking aside, like the increase in the sensitivity of smells.
Yeah, even the producer, he was like, day 6, day 7, I hadn't eaten anything, and I'm friggin' taking trees down and bringing them back to my camp, and he's like, "Where are you getting all this energy?" Like, it just came from somewhere. I was harnessing this energy from source or something somewhere because I wasn't eating anything, not even not even a leaf, not even any vegetation. It was nothing but water for 7 days, but I felt stronger. I mean, I really did feel strong.
Nice.
I never felt like super, super weak. It was kind of bizarre.
What we often see when we send students on solos is that when they come back, they kind of have a better appreciation for like the group and how the group helps with stuff. Did you find that when you got back? Like, did you see the previous ones you'd done with other people? Did you see that in a different light when you got back? Like having like somebody to, like you're saying, you're exerting a ton of energy. And as humans, that's kind of how we
absolutely. I would have liked, for the camp stuff, or like the shelter building and all that stuff would have been cool. Nice to have a partner. Yeah. But just having to figure it out on your own, you have to reprioritize everything that you know.
Absolutely.
Kind of everything I know how to do, and everything that I'm good at. I get to it's just trial and error again and again and again. Like, this isn't how I would normally do it if I even had one other person.
Right. Yeah, it's a super fascinating thing to us up here with all the solos and stuff like that. And the group dynamics you're talking about are always affected by this stuff.
If I could pick my partner, pick a person I get along with and I know, and not just a crapshoot and some gamble on, some other cast member that, has a desk job that doesn't know much about survival. Like, being in South Africa is not where I want to, with a novice partner is not where I want to be a teacher.
Yeah, of course.
That's extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
People need to know what they're doing if they're in an environment like that.
Yeah, dangerous and a lot of work.
Yeah, right? I mean, I love teaching people. I love learning, all that stuff. But in that particular, challenge and environment, you don't want to be out there being a teacher. You don't want to be out there being a student. You need to know your shit when you're living amongst, that type of danger.
Yeah, for real. Cool.
Yeah.
So next year, slide into the guiding, doing some canoeing, snowshoeing, maybe some other things.
Probably this winter. I think I've just, I've been Airbnb-ing the hostel during COVID a little bit, and that's what pays my bills in the wintertime as well. But I did not build the Human-Nature Hostel to be a rental or to be an Airbnb, rental. I built it for me to facilitate, guided experiences and to facilitate retreats and help out veterans and stuff like that. So this winter, I'm probably going to buy a dozen snowshoes and run, day or weekend long guided snowshoe trips from the Human-Nature Hostel itself.
Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Excited to kind of watch the next stage of the dream develop.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
We got a lot to do, a lot to spread out on. I got 42 acres to build more accommodations, and this is going to be a whole eco dome village
casino
guided.
You could get like a crooked Keno game.
Simulcast. Throwing some dice in the corner of the dome.
You get like a TV and plug it in. In New York State, they used to have these things called off-track betting, and you'd just go to this it was like a shady bar in like a shady part of town, and you go in there, and it was like a live feed from like the horse racing track. So you could do something like that.
I don't think, oh boy.
I don't know if that aligns with my guide service.
Probably not.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
But, then next spring, I think I only need purchase a few more canoes and just a little bit of gear, and I'm ready to go. I've got the, the knowledge, I got the skills, I got the facility, I've got the location. I just need people to sign up.
Yeah.
Right on.
That's the name of the game.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with us and doing this, Ryan. Always a pleasure.
My honor, man. I love being here.
Yeah, it's pretty nice in the county, especially this time of year. This is this is the nicest time of year. It's the middle of September. Our nights are in the 40s. Our days are in the 60s, maybe 70s. So heat of the day, it's still warm enough to swim. middle of the night, it's cold enough to get your attention to let you know that winter's right around the corner.
But there's no bugs.
But there's no bugs at
No
all.
bugs.
I'm looking out the window here, and the leaves are starting to turn.
Yeah, they're changing big time.
Just
It's
in the-
awesome.
in
It's
the
only
past 3 or 4
mid-September,
days.
and it's friggin' yellows and reds and oranges out there already.
Yeah, I think probably has something to do with the drought. We're a
They
little
did say
early.
that.
Yeah.
They said because of the drought, we may experience a very short foliage season and
Yeah.
early.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for spending this time with us. If you enjoy this podcast, you know the drill. Share it with somebody, leave us a review, do something like that, and we will hit you back again soon with another one. Have a great day. You have been listening to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast. For more information on our professional wilderness guide training programs that are college accredited and GI Bill approved, visit us on the web at jackmtn.com.